The V10 engine is undoubtedly one of the most unique and appreciated creations in the world of automotive engineering and car culture. So many iconic sports cars leveraged the V10 to generate both incredible performance and an unforgettable sound. This tier list is my ranking of every road legal V10 that I could find and provides a ton of information about each engine and its attributes, so let's get started. Kicking things off on a high note is the 1LR GUE, more commonly known as the Lexus LFA engine that produces a sound that is instantaneously recognizable to all car enthusiasts. Interestingly, this engine was developed with the help of Yamaha and reaches an astounding 9,000 RPM redline. And with over 10 years having passed since its debut, the 1LR GUE has had no major issues reported from its owners, which should come as no surprise as it is indeed housed in a Lexus. Being the soul of one of the best cars ever made, a blessing to our ears and a highly reliable machine, the 1LR GUE is going into the S tier. Found in a wide variety of applications, the S85 V10 from BMW gave us reason to argue that the E60 M5 is one of the best sedans ever created. This engine absolutely screams and sounds rather similar to a Lamborghini Huracan in my opinion. Although it makes respectable power and unforgettable noises, the S85 is plagued with a high maintenance reputation. Rod bearing failures seem to be the most prominent issue, but there are still examples that have lasted through extensive mileage. The S85 is undoubtedly a phenomenal engine, but due to reliability issues and how it stacks up compared to engines yet to come, I think it belongs in the B tier. Porsche is no stranger to the creation of engineering masterpieces, but the M80 is certainly in a world of its own. Pulling technology from the 9R3 LMP2000 race car, which actually failed to ever run at Le Mans, the M80 was designed for the iconic Porsche Carrera GT. It generated an impressive 605 horsepower all the way back in 2004 and reached a redline of 8,400 RPM. Additionally, with the help of a flat plane crankshaft and a low inertia internal design, the M80 changes RPM at an instant, and in my eyes, the M80 is also the only V10 in existence outside of Formula 1 that rivals the sound of the LFA, making this engine legendary within all of the attributes that it possesses. As a result, the M80 belongs in the S tier. Now that we're getting into the Volkswagen and Audi Group's V10 line, I'll warn you now that it's going to get pretty confusing as we navigate the next few engines. First off is the 5.0 TFSI or FSI depending on the usage. FSI means fuel stratified injection and is a form of direct injection from Volkswagen, and a T in front simply means turbocharged. In the first generation Lamborghini Gallardo, this engine comes in a naturally aspirated or FSI format, producing the numbers seen before the slash in the graphic. In the RS6, it was a different animal coming in the TFSI format with two turbos and produced the numbers seen second on the screen. In either format, the 5.0 impressed with performance and showed very little sign of reliability issues. It makes a great sound in the Gallardo and a slightly less exciting one in the RS6. All things considered, the 5.0 TFSI finds itself in the A tier. Getting even more confusing, the 5.2 FSI is the successor to the 5.0 and came in many variants. Although technically seen later on in the likes of the Audi R8 and Lamborghini Huracan, the iteration of this engine found in the Audi S6 and S8 is rather different, with entirely different crankshaft, piston, and valve train designs. Thus, I am separating it. In the Audi sedans, the 5.2 FSI is what makes them great, with the S8 being the slightly more powerful version. It produces a very unique high-pitched exhaust note, and in terms of reliability, although it does suffer from a bit of carbon buildup, it seems to have no major issues. The 5.2 FSI is a phenomenal engine, but definitely below what sits in the S tier so far, so I'll place it into the A tier. Okay, I swear the confusion is almost over. Moving on to the other side of what is also the 5.2 FSI, this is the more commonly known variant seen in the Generation 2 Gallardo, the Huracan, and the R8. This variant of the 5.2 FSI has had a long and successful run all the way from 2009 to 2023. Over the years, it has seen incremental power increases created through both tuning and airflow adjustments. Additionally, Audi got this variant fully sorted for reliability, making this engine built like a tank with names like Underground Racing pushing them to 3,500 horsepower without any major issues. It also generates what is one of my personal all-time favorite exhaust notes, a very crisp and angry sound fitting to the cars that it is found in. Audi really nailed this one, which is why it has been around for so long, and for me, it's worthy of the S tier. Finishing Volkswagen off with its problem child, the 5.0 TDI was an engine to forget. Found in a sedan and a crossover, this turbodiesel V10 uses TDI technology, meaning turbocharged direct injection. Although it makes heaps of torque, which is consistent with its diesel nature, it produced a subpar 310 horsepower. These engines were plagued with many reliability issues, and more problematically, most shops will refuse to even service them. Although a cool idea with some unique and intriguing applications, the 5.0 TDI finds itself down in the D tier. Now onto one of the strangest engines ever produced, the Connaught Type D GT vehicle that is displayed on the screen housed a V10 so rare that I couldn't even find a picture of it. Intended to prove that a V10 could be fuel efficient and environmentally friendly, the Type D V10 was made in 2006 and 2007 in the form of a 2.0-liter supercharged V10. Little is known about the reliability of these machines, as the process of hand building all of them resulted in incredibly low production numbers. Although the power it makes is impressive for a 2-liter engine, it is rather low for a V10 and begs the question of why not use fewer cylinders to accomplish the same task. Even though this was a wild idea and pioneered unexplored territory, a 2-liter V10 seems highly impractical and unnecessary, so I will be putting it into the C tier. Getting into American V10s, the gas-powered Magnum intended to provide truck owners in search of torque with an alternative to the diesel engine. It did this successfully with a monstrous 8-liter displacement, resulting in a near unheard of 450 foot-pounds of torque all the way back in the mid-90s. The Magnum makes a deep and high-quality sound and delivers with great reliability that a truck owner needs. There have been a few instances of cracking cylinder heads, but this is highly uncommon. Overall, the Magnum did a great job at matching its application and serving the needs of the vehicles that it went into, and although the horsepower is nothing impressive, these other attributes earn it a spot at the upper end of the B tier. The Ford Triton V10 is one of the most widely used engines on this list, finding itself solely in heavyweight vehicles. Thus, like the Magnum, the Triton needed to make plenty of torque, and certainly did so to move such weight. The sound they produce is rather lackluster, and reliability has been said to be an issue. The most prominent problem was the spark plugs, particularly in the earlier years. These could destroy the entire engine upon failure, as part of the plug would drop into the engine and seize the internals. Although the Triton V10 has been solid for many applications, I believe the Magnum accomplished a very similar goal at a higher level, and for that I think the Triton belongs just below it in the C tier. In 1991, Dodge revealed one of the most exciting cars ever made, a legend that would continue for 2.5 decades. The Dodge Viper housed a massive 8-liter V10 utilizing an aluminum block designed with the help of Lamborghini. Piston ring issues occurred within this first generation of the Viper V10, although rare in an otherwise ultra-reliable and cheap-to-maintain engine. The Viper V10 of all generations produces a very unique sound, a choppy deep growl at low RPM and a more typical V10 note at higher RPM. Although a great engine, the first iteration of the Viper V10 certainly had much more room to grow, finding itself in the B tier. The second generation of the Viper V10 was honestly very similar to the first. The main differences came in the form of a different crankshaft, an updated exhaust manifold, and lighter pistons that no longer suffered from piston ring issues. These alterations resulted in a respectable 50 horsepower bump, making sure to keep the Viper V10's status as one of the most powerful engines at the time. These changes were mild, so the second generation of the Viper V10 is still in B tier. For the third generation of the Viper V10, the story is rather similar to the second. The changes were still very mild, with the most notable being an increased displacement from 8 liters to 8.3 liters. The third generation of the Viper V10 was also a fair amount lighter than previous generations, which was partially achieved with the greater displacement created as a result of more material being removed from the cylinder heads. The third generation did get one fascinating application in the form of the Ram SRT-10 pickup truck and grazed the 500 horsepower mark. This iteration of the Viper V10 is still in the upper end of B tier. Finally arriving to the big changes, the fourth generation of the Viper V10 came with the introduction of variable valve timing, which enabled the biggest horsepower increase yet. This, in conjunction with multiple modifications designed to greatly increase airflow and an increased displacement of 8.4 liters, resulted in a whopping 600 horsepower. These updates were far more significant than previous generations and properly justify a bump up into the A tier. The final generation before the unfortunate demise of the Viper and its miraculous V10, the fifth generation of the Viper V10 received another sizable upgrade. This came in the form of forged pistons, increasing reliability and allowing the engine to better hold boost, with some Vipers designed by places such as Calvo Motorsports in Texas reaching 3,000 horsepower on this platform. A few more airflow modifications and redesigned cams were also added. Accomplishing all of this while still maintaining a low maintenance cost earns the final generation of the Viper V10 a spot up at the top end of the A tier. Well, there you have it. This is my final ranking of every V10 I could find, with so many masterpieces of engineering coming from a wide variety of manufacturers. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the video and found it entertaining, and welcome you to the channel if you're new here. If you're still here, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as this series will be continuing and you don't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching and have a great day.